I thought I'd make a video about making a base plate for a router that I inherited from my uncle. That's the original one. Take it off. This will be the new one. I'm going to be making it bigger so it goes into a router table. I'll show you that later. First thing I'm going to do is machine a point onto these screws that hold the base plate on, and I'll do 3 of them. One of them's chucked up in the lathe right now, and I'll machine a 60-degree point on it. Just getting ready to do that. So, if you can see that or not. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, so anyway, so the reason I like to do it on the lathe is that way the point is centered with the center line of the screw. So grinder, no, don't do that. Anyway, so I'll do a couple more of those, and we'll go to the next step. We'll just sharpen this awl here. I just want to show you guys how the proper way to do this, because it drives me nuts when someone goes to the grinder and puts it this way and starts twirling it. Well, no, this is the way to do it. Go vertically. That way the stone is going with the way that you're sharpening it. And you can see that it does a pretty nice job. Okay, so what I'm going to do is drill. I've scribed an X on that plate, and I'll drill a 1/4-inch hole, but there's a little more to it than that. What I'll do is I'll start off with this pilot bit, and then I'll drill it to one size. Well, we might even go to a letter bit, we'll see. And then I'll ream it to these reamers. Once you run this reamer through, that hole will be exactly 1/4 inch. Now, you're probably not going to have a reamer, so I would recommend you still drill with one size under 1/4, and then go up to the 1/4 inch bit and speed the drill press up as much as you can, and just run it through as quick as possible, and that'll give you a pretty accurate hole. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then hopefully this pin that I got from one of the indicator sets here will run that. It should fit nice and tight in that hole, and I've got the 1/4 inch collet in here, so once we tighten this pin through the hole, this plate will be fairly secure on there. So that'll be the starting point of the center, and we'll do that and go to the next step. Okay, well, we got our hole drilled in the plate, we got the pin in, we got the router collet tight, we've got it clamped, we've got the pointed screws in there, and I'll just flip the router over, tighten those down until they touch the plate. Come back on this side of the plate with a little rubber hammer, give it a tap to make a little center punch, and then when I come back we'll have a look and see what that looks like. Okay, well, that worked pretty good. We got 3 distinct marks and one over there. So what I'll do is I'll just go in with this center punch, give them a little bit more. Then with the center drill, it's very stable for starting holes. I would recommend you get one of these. Probably pretty cheap. They're probably only $5. And then we'll go to the drill. We'll drill through it, and then we'll get a countersink bit and countersink them. Then we know that she should fit the router. So we'll do that and we'll come back. Well, actually that worked pretty good. The holes and the countersinks, that's worked really well. And this is pretty close here, but still not really happy with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a 15/16 hole through the middle of the plate. Then I'm going to mount this 1-inch bit in the router and plunge it through, and that should give me pretty darn close center. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, well that worked pretty good. So I just drilled a bigger hole and I've run the router right through it. So what I'm going to do now, I know that this hole is concentric with the center of the router, or as close as I can get it anyways. And now what I can do is I can mount this plate onto the router base, chuck it up in the lathe, and we can use one of these doohickeys. This thing here, we can just run this inside the hole that we just machined and make sure it's 0 and adjust it if we have to. And once we're 0 to that inside hole that we just cut out there, that I just cut out, then I can machine the OD, or the outside diameter of the plate, the outside part, which is going to be quite a bit bigger, by the way, because that's going to be going into a router table. And everything's going to be concentric. And then I can go ahead and machine out a little bit more for these guide bushings. So we'll go ahead and do that. Alrighty, we've got this chucked up in there, and we've got it zeroed on the 4-jaw chuck. So we are concentric to that inner bore that we did, and I'm going to go ahead and machine the outside of that. I want it to be the same diameter as my other router, which is right here. Oops, sorry about that. So that's what our final diameter is going to be, that. And I don't think I'm going to machine the offset spigot for this plate, because I don't see myself running bigger bits on that router. It's only like a horse and a half or something like that, so I'm thinking we'll machine this in there for the guide pins, and we'll be done. So I'm going to go ahead and go do that. Okay, well, we'll get a mic on that, see where we're at, and I've got to machine it to 7.5 inches, so we'll see where we're at and we'll go the rest of the way. Okay, well, we're just about ready to start machining the counterbore. The actual flange thickness of that guide bushing is 90 thou, so I've just touched onto the face of that, and I've got an indicator here. I'll go in 90 thou, and I know I've got to go 350 that way, so I'll go a little shy of that, check the bushing and just sort of fit it. The bushing itself, yeah, it centers on the flange, not on the threads, so we'll make the fit good on this diameter here, and then I can just chuck the plate up in the 3-jaw, which will be close enough, and we'll just machine out so the thread part goes through. So yeah, so we'll do that and get back. Well, we got the counterbore done, and we got the 3-jaw back in. We're just going to bore out the center section. You can see it fits pretty good. So yeah, maybe a couple thou below the surface on the brass there, but nothing to worry about. Probably better that it's lower than sticking up. So we're gonna bore the inside here so the threads can go through. It'll be not a tight fit, but it's kind of a slip fit. So we'll go ahead and do that, and I'm getting pretty near done this thing, but let's do that and then I'll come back. Well, all in all, I'm pretty happy with that. It's a really nice fit, and yeah, so what we should end up here is the plate should be very much centered, OD, ID, on the center line of the rotor, So if you're routing something and you have to turn from this side to this side, you're not going to be out at all. Likewise on the guide bushing, it should be right on the money all the way around. So yeah, pretty happy with that. Worked out good. So the next thing we'll do is we'll start building my router tabletop. That'll be the next thing. Okay, well, we started working on the router table, which isn't going to be much of a table, but I just made the top here. It's a piece of 3/4 inch birch plywood. It's got quite a few plies in it, so I kind of like that it had like about 18 plies in it. It was pre-finished, but they had it on sale. I put some maple around the edges and I routed it flush. One thing I'll say here is your top surface, which I'm going to be covering with that arborite right there. You want that surface to be the surface that's convex, so it's high in the middle. So you can see how this is rocking from the middle is high. So yeah, so that's actually good. I mean, obviously if it could be perfectly flat, that would be good, but with gravity pulling down on it over time, you definitely want that side up. So that's what we got. That's not going to hurt you when you're routing. This plywood was pre-finished, so I got to sand it off, which won't take a minute. when I sand, I like to use ear protection, lung protection, and what I use is I use a Auto Body random orbit sander. This sander's done me pretty well. I probably had it well over 30 years. She chews pretty good and it's very smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this finish off, and then we'll cut that arborite to size and get it glued on. Okay, well, we got this sanded pretty flush, all the finishes off of it. I've got the arborite here cut oversized by about 1/2 inch on each side. I'm going to use this 3M high strength spray adhesive. It's a little chilly in here. I just got it warming up in some warm water. Anytime you're trying to spray something like spray paint or anything like that, it's a good idea to warm it up if it's a little chilly. It just works a lot better. So what I'm going to do is I'll spray it on both surfaces and let it tack up, and then I'll put it together like contact cement. So I'll get back to you when I get that far. Okay, I sprayed both sides with that 3M spray adhesive. It's pretty much tacked up. I've got 3 just small wooden strips laid across so it doesn't stick together yet. And I'll lay the arborite on there, normal procedure. The strips will keep it from sticking right away. I'll pull that middle one out and get the middle going down, and then I'll take this roller and be rolling it flat, so I'll get back to you. Alright, well, we've got the arborite on. Got a flush trim bit on my router, and we'll just trim the overhang off, and we'll sand the edges, and then we'll probably put a 45 on them. And yeah, but this was that plywood here. It was pretty good stuff. They had, I think, 2 foot by 4 foot pieces for $3 each, so you couldn't go wrong with that. Okay, we'll get that back to you. Well, okay, that went pretty easy. Got it trimmed. I'm just gonna go around the edge of the maple edging here with the sander. I'll use this guy. It's a little bit flatter. We'll do that, and then we'll put a little bit of edge treatment on there, and for the most part, top will be done, other than we'll have to cut a hole for the router base that I made yesterday. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I ended up using 2 bits. I used this 15-degree edge treatment bit and the old standard 45er. And what I did with the 15, I just knocked it back so the edge of the arborite wasn't exposed so much. I don't know if you can see, you can see that, not bad there. And then after I did that, I just came on top, and only the arborites at a 45-degree angles, just to keep it from chipping. So I didn't want a big edge on here because I'll be clamping the fence, and I just want it as close as possible to the edge. So pretty happy with that. Turned out good. Next thing, we'll cut a circle in there.